Hi guys, I'm Aussie Villain, and welcome to a very beginner's tutorial to Out the Park Baseball 22. I am by no means a baseball expert, but I have been playing the game for a little while, so I'm going to share a few tips and tricks that I've found that have helped me. And generally speaking, I tend to do okay, even if I don't know exactly how much of it is beginner's luck, and it could be quite a little bit. So stick around, and we'll go through the beginner's guide to Out the Park Baseball 22. Now, off the top, a little bit of YouTube admin. If you are new to my channel, make sure that you subscribe and ring the bell so you don't upload new episodes of anything. And also, of course, if you enjoyed this video, find it helpful, make sure you hit thumbs up so that other people are able to find it, and it would be greatly appreciated by me as well. Now, as I said at the top there, this is very much a beginner's guide. I'm not a baseball expert. I don't even know what all the stats mean, which is going to be very offensive to some people. But if you don't know what all the stats mean either, then this is probably more at your level than if you do know what the stats are. You probably should be telling me how to play the game. But like I say, this is just a bit of a few tips and tricks that I've found that have helped me as I've gone along. Now, this is, if you watch the first impressions video, this is basically, I'm recording it straight after that. So spoiler alerts, don't look at the table if you want to see how the game went in that one. But I think the first tip that I have picked up is honestly, don't necessarily pay attention to the ratings here. Now, the other game I play on my channel a lot is Football Manager, and on that game, the ratings are generally speaking fairly reliable as to what you can expect from the player. I found in playing Out the Park Baseball that they're obviously a decent guide. You know, a good player isn't going to be terrible, and a terrible player, if their ratings are down here, isn't going to be good. But players just seem to fit and work sometimes. So what you very much want to look at, I find, is how they're actually doing on the field. So look at the numbers down here. Now, that being said, you look at this guy's batting averages, not fantastic. But yeah, he's got a -4. Why would you sign him? Why would you sign him? Anyway, yeah, so that would be my first piece of advice. This is a good guide, but to get a better idea of if you want to sign somebody, or even more so, to be honest, if you want to keep somebody, because you know how they're doing playing for your club and at your ballpark, look at the numbers. If the numbers are good, honestly, keep them. If the numbers are tailing away, then maybe look to move on. Now, one thing I have been bitten by the past, though, is if somebody, say, has these sorts of ratings and they have a season or two where they're batting 300, it might be a good situation to try and maybe trade on at that point as well, especially if they're getting a little bit older, because it might be that they're out-achieving their ratings, so you might get more for them if you trade them while they're playing well than if you hang on to them a little bit too long. I had that problem last Out of the Park Baseball with the Rockies. I think Brendan Rodgers was the main one. He had ratings not dissimilar to this, a little bit better perhaps, and he was on fire, and I kept him for a couple of seasons. Then he had a really bad season. We just kind of reverted back to what the ratings say he should be doing, and then I didn't really get much for him. If I sort of traded him while he was an all-star, for example, I probably would have got a lot more for him. And it's the same sort of thing for the pitchers, to be honest. Maybe even more so with the pitchers than with hitters. If they're doing well, then keep them. If they're not doing well, then maybe not so much. Look to move them on. But yeah, the ratings, I'd say, are more of a guide I've found than sort of concrete. They're going to be good because look at their ratings. Now, while we're on the topic of pitchers, another thing that I've found that has worked for me is obviously free agency, and it's in transactions here, and we can go and have a look at where are we here? Where are the free agents? Oh, it's right in front of me. We're on the free agents. What a moron I can be sometimes. I mean, obviously, there are pitchers that you can sign from free agency. Most of the good ones at this point in the game, obviously, are gone. But they obviously, they're on free agency because they want to test and see how much money they can get. One thing that I have found, if a pitcher is over 30, unless they're an Iron Man, I wouldn't touch them. If you're desperate and their health status is okay, then yes, I'd sign them then. But if they're over 30 and fragile, just stay away. The amount of injuries I had signed and plowed tens of millions of dollars into it, even hundreds of millions at times, to get, who are supposed to be really good, previously all-star Cy Young winning pitchers, and they just turn up and they're just injured the whole time, and then they're injured the whole time, their ratings decline, and then you just get stuck with, if you watch the Rockies series last Out of the Park Baseball that I did, you'll know all about what's happened. So yeah, that's one piece of advice, is don't do that. The other piece of advice I have in terms of pitchers is just don't sign starting pitchers. If I can try and find a good example of what I'm talking about, let's go with Mike Montgomery here. He kind of is a decent example of what I mean. Right now, he's a relief pitcher, as you can see. He has decent stamina. I have found what has really worked for me, if you get your superstar pitchers, I guess, starting pitchers, draft them in, get them young, and develop them. They don't cost you as much money that way. And to fill in the numbers, get someone like this, turn them into a starting pitcher, and they do okay for you. And if they don't, then you can just trade them away, and they're going to be on low money because they've joined you as a reliever. So that's something I've found has worked really, really well for me, is just trading in as many you want more than 2 pitchers. Typically you want 3 pitchers or more, but if they've got any sort of stamina about them and they can, there isn't a chance there for them to become a starting pitcher, that's where I've tended to get my starters from. And then, like I say, if they work, you look like a genius. If they don't work, you just get rid of them and nobody notices. But I found that a really, really useful way to build a bullpen, especially while you're waiting for young guys that you've drafted to sort of come through the system and be ready for Major League Baseball. So it's worked for me. It may or may not work for you. Let me know how you get on if you do try that down in the comments. And really, the last sort of tip that I wanted to give was regarding personnel. Now, obviously, for this version of the game, it's been massively, massively upgraded, which is fantastic. Now, one thing I'm really curious to see is so if we look here, we've got old Eddie here. His ratings look quite good, even if he is inexperienced right now. Now, one thing that I've always done before we sort of had this information is I'd sign coaching staff that were unproven and inexperienced. I'd start them down low in my system and then sort of build them up to get closer up to AAA or the Major League team. I still think that's a useful way to build up the reputation. Now, as I said, one thing I'm curious to see, and I don't know because, wow, another good coach here. This is almost a perfect example, unproven, but very much a very good coach. So I'll be interested to see as their reputation improves, if these things are going to improve as well, or if this is kind of it, and their reputation will improve, and then see. We'll find out, as I said, as the game develops, sort of into the future, exactly how the staff is gonna be evolving, I guess, is probably the best word. But in terms of sort of building up a coaching staff, I have found it's worked really well for me, is sort of signing the inexperienced coaches, have them down here, and then just kind of moving them up as you go. Now, one other thing, and again, it might change with the new game, is I've always looked for this handles development. It's basically the new stat that you would look for. If you have a coach that is really, really good at developing players, just try and keep them down in the youth team as much as possible, or the younger teams in the farm system, because they're just going to churn out players for you as you go, and that's perfect. If the more good young players you can have coming through your system, the cheaper it is, and if you can get a little production line going, you can even sort of trade them away as they're coming up to free agency. So you trade away an established star, you then bring in the next sort of young star, and then just work them back up. And if you've got a system going, sort of like a conveyor belt, you'll already have somebody to sort of fit in between the star leaving, the youngster coming in. You can have somebody else that sort of slots into the Major League team. That's what I found has worked for me. But the coaching staff is very much got a big part of the player development. So yeah, that's in terms of improving reputation. That's the way I work it, and it's worked well for me. And into how the new game is going to improve. This is Scouting Direct. That's a little bit different. But how the new game is going to improve. If these ratings are going to improve with a reputation, I guess time will tell. But certainly, at the time of the game starting, even if it's just improving reputation, I do think that's a useful way to go about things. But there we go. That is it. It's very much of, as I said, a beginner's guide. A couple of tricks that has worked for me. If you have anything like that, let me know in the comments. I'm still learning myself, so I'd be more than happy to hear your tips and tricks as well. And there's a link down in the description to my Discord channel if you want to go jump on there as well. And we all kind of all help each other with our different saves and things, and again, tips and tricks that we've found out that have worked for us. It's a lot of fun. I really do enjoy the Discord, so I'd encourage you to go and join that as well. But that is it for today. If you have enjoyed it, make sure you hit thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new as well. We have a Let's Play series starting. We're going to try and make the Yankees lovable. The series is called American Heroes, and it will be only American players playing for the Yankees. So we'll see if we can win a World Series with that particular method. But yeah, until next time, guys, I've been Aussie, and thank you so much for watching. Take care.